Have you ever wondered how justice grapples with cases involving powerful entities and vulnerable individuals? Well, it can get quite complex. Let's delve into the recent controversy surrounding a $250 million settlement that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints agreed to pay into a fund for abused former Boy Scouts. It seemed like a hefty sum, right? But here's the twist. A judge argued that this agreement gave the church too much protection against further lawsuits. Enter Judge Lori Selber Silverstein, the voice of dissent who rejected the settlement. The Church and the Boy Scouts of America have had a decades-long relationship, a bond that only ended in 2020. The Church had agreed to contribute to a fund for abuse claimants, but there was a catch. The Church made this contribution on the condition that former Scouts who were abused couldn't sue the Church separately over incidents that occurred outside of Scouting activities. But Judge Silverstein saw things differently. What happens when a court challenges a major settlement agreement? In this case, Judge Lori Selber Silverstein rejected the $250 million settlement the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints had agreed to pay into a fund for abused former Boy Scouts. Why? She argued the agreement gave the Church too much protection against further lawsuits. To understand this, let's consider a hypothetical scenario. Suppose a church choir director abused a child in the choir and then continued the abuse as the child's scout leader. Under the proposed settlement, the church would be immune from lawsuits regarding the abuse that happened outside of Scouting activities. But the judge disagreed. She argued that church abuse that happened outside Scouting isn't connected to the Boy Scouts of America's bankruptcy plan, and so the plan can't release the church from those claims. This means that the abuse in the choir, using our example, would not be compensated from the Boy Scouts of America fund. Essentially, the ruling prevents abuse outside of Scouting from being compensated from this fund. The judge's verdict opened a new chapter in this ongoing saga. What does this mean for the victims and the church? Now, this is where the implications of the judge's decision become rather significant. The church's close ties with Scouting and its structural setup make it particularly susceptible to allegations of abuse that span both church and Scouting activities. Let's consider this. About 2,800 abuse claims filed in the bankruptcy have direct ties to the church. Another 4,900 are potentially linked. That's a substantial number. As for the road ahead, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has a couple of options. They could still pay the $250 million, which would shield them from lawsuits over abuse at Scouting activities. However, they would not be exempt from litigation related to non-Scouting incidents. Alternatively, the church could renegotiate the amount, given that it doesn't cover all of the potential abuse claims, Scouting and non-Scouting, in question. Or they could completely walk away from the settlement. The future remains uncertain, but one thing is clear. The fight for justice continues.
Oh, you're Boy Scouts, but you know life. You know life.